Recently, I've noticed that I've developed the habit of booting up a game on my TV only to sit in the title screen or in some safe area while my actual attention remains glued to one of several mobile games I've recently downloaded, typically in the form of Vampire Survivors or some deck builder roguelike. And what this affront to my electricity bill has shown me is that I absolutely adore the music in video games. Whether it's the blood-pumping, aggressive guitar riffs of Guilty Gear Strive's What Do You Fight For battle music, or the gorgeous, intense orchestral ensemble for the menu theme from Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice, the quality of a game's soundtrack can often make or break immersion, and I find the times I feel most at ease are when I'm engaged in some mundane task with a video game original soundtrack playing in the background. Perhaps it is the anticipation of the recently announced sequel that has influenced my listening bias, but few games in my personal catalog find themselves with such frequent revisits as the soundtrack of Team Cherry's breakout success, Hollow Knight. Fear, joy, relief, sorrow, wonder, anticipation, Hollow Knight's composer Christopher Larkin has made me feel them all. The wide range of emotions conveyed in Larkin's various compositions is as impressive as it is immersive. And so today, I want to look at what makes Hollow Knight's soundtrack tick, and then see if I can't implement what I find into a unique composition of my very own. And well, for me, there's no better place to start than with the first true safe haven of Hollow Nest, Dirtmouth. Dirtmouth is an area that the player is going to revisit a lot. It is where many of the game's key NPCs gather, and it has several different connections to the wider world of Hollow Nest. As a hub area, Dirtmouth is quiet and empty, at least initially, but it is also safe and peaceful. Everything from the dim lighting to the closed shop doors build on this somber atmosphere. And when speaking to the old bug, the player discovers that Dirtmouth was once something of a thriving metropolis, or at least it was more alive than we see now. This then indicates to the player that this place has lost something, yet despite this, Dirtmouth remains protected from the many horrors below, making it the perfect place for the player's plentiful pit stops. I believe Larkin captures this perfectly with his composition. The piece is carried by a single piano with the only other accompaniment being a lone violin, or maybe it's a viola, but whatever. Dirtmouth is written in E minor with a tempo of around 86 beats per minute, and when I was remaking this song using MIDI in Ableton, my DAW of choice, I noticed that the left hand kept playing these gorgeous arpeggiated E minor add 9 chords. That's E, B, F sharp, and G. That repeated constantly throughout the piece. Here, take a listen. The first 4 bars never stray from this chord, and I believe it is this repetition that is at the core of why this song feels both safe, yet somber. But we can't talk about repetition without first discussing the concept of leitmotifs. A leitmotif in music is a small musical phrase whose repetition invokes a concept. A popular example of this would be the first 4 notes in Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. Here. Expert use of this technique can create a quick sense of familiarity within the listener, and Hollow Knight's soundtrack is littered with examples of leitmotifs being used in and throughout all of the various songs, though that is a video concept for a whole nother day. Here in Dirtmouth, the same is true. The melody repeats this pattern of F sharp for a whole note, followed by a half note rest into a quick F sharp G A climb before returning to F sharp for another whole note, which I will play now. This pattern is plastered all over the entirety of this track, making it quickly recognizable to the ear, even when the pattern is transposed to start at the B key rather than F sharp in the later half of the song. It is the repeated use of this technique that makes Dirtmouth instantly feel like home when the player returns to rest or restock on supplies, and when considering my own composition, this was a key takeaway that I made sure to implement a lot. Now, one of the reasons I believe repetition is so important is that it can be both a source of comfort and tension. It provides the listener with a sense of familiarity while also creating the desire for movement and change. In a similar way, Dirtmouth is a place where the player can rest for as long as they need, forever if they so desire. But despite the solace this quaint and quiet town provides, our little knight character is called to explore further, challenged to face new dangers, yet also given the promise of great rewards. Likewise, when these chords begin to change, the result is a mixture of familiar and new. The rhythm repeats, as do most of the notes, however a slight alteration in the first two notes of measures 6 and 7 paint the sound with the more optimistic colors of the major 7 and major 6 chords, that's D major add 9 and C major add 11 respectively. The measure then concludes with a C major to G major chord movement before returning to the tonic, that's the root chord, for another 4 measures. Let's listen once again. And this pattern of venturing out a little ways from the tonic only to return for 4 measures repeats, each repetition having the listener explore just a little bit further before eventually returning to the home chord and the accompanying lay motif, which, wouldn't you guess it, is exactly how Hollow Knight plays. The player's first expeditions will likely be cut short, either by an untimely death or the need for a quick rest or shop item, but as the player slowly becomes more familiar with the unknown and better equipped to tackle the challenges ahead, leaving the peaceful sanctuary of Dirtmouth becomes a little easier, and exploring further all the more enticing. Measures 25 through 32 see the once familiar pattern permanently changed, the first note of each arpeggio creating a descending pattern emblematic of the player's descent into Hollownest. Simultaneously, there is more movement present than before, both in the chords as well as the rising lay motif, making the song feel more alive as a result, and mirroring the town's eventual growth as the player collects various NPCs and opens new passageways. Let's just take a look. From here, the song fully transitions away from the familiar, with measure 33 using a borrowed F major 7 chord, but in doing so, the song moves from this somber, hollow feeling to one of inspired hopefulness, which we can see here. Though what lies beyond is a mystery, the player now has the confidence in knowing that they are better prepared to tackle the challenges ahead, and the music reflects this. And what I love about the end of this piece is that whatever it is that lies ahead remains unknown. Larkin finishes this song with a rising harmony between the left and right hands of the piano, centered around the all-familiar E minor add 9 chord. However, the notes the listener are left on are the first and fifth, that's E and G, which leave the end harmonious, yet ambiguous, and God, I just love this piece. I could go on with the various little details this seemingly simple yet deceptively complex song holds, but then we would be here for hours. Heck, I haven't even begun mentioning the violin in this piece, or again, maybe it's a viol, I never quite figured that out, or the other ways Larkin uses borrowed chords, or the harmony, and all of this is to say that this song, and all of Hollow Knight's soundtrack, goes deep. Pun only somewhat intended, and I believe there's a lot we can learn from these compositions to apply to our own music. I am not a professional composer, nor is my actual music theory knowledge all that strong in particular, but I wanted to challenge myself by trying to implement some of what I learned with this piece into my own music. I decided to take the idea of lay motifs, of repeated arpeggiated minor add 9 chords, of gradual change over time with a limit of only 2 instruments to see if I couldn't make a Hollow Knight-like. And while there is still a vast ocean of knowledge and technique I would need to explore to create something so intricately beautiful and detailed as what Christopher Larkin and the developers at Team Cherry have given us, I'm still proud to have taken my first few steps into the unknown, feeling now more confident than ever that even in the face of the failures and mysteries likely ahead, there is hope. And should I ever need, I know that I'll have a place to return to and rest for a while in the wonderful music of Hollow Knight, which for me always feels like home. But without further ado, I present to you my composition, Dustwalker. Take care, everyone.